Hello, everyone. Jamie, would you like to say anything before we start? Or have you said your, have you communicated?
Yeah, I'll just do a very quick recap real quick for those of us who I just admitted into the meeting. Thank you everyone so much for joining us on our Inside Room interview series where we get to talk to amazing industry pros. Today we'll be talking with the incredible casting director and dialogue director Kristin Paiva. So for everybody real quick, as I said up front, for now, just make sure that you're muted, your microphones are off, and your cameras are off. Go ahead and click view and hide non-video participants so that way you can just see and focus on these two lovely ladies as they conduct this chat. And if you have any questions as they come up, please pop them into the chat. I will be there moderating. My name's Jamie. I'm Terry's assistant. So I will be moderating all of that, and we'll have a Q&A portion to address some of those questions later on. And I hope you
Jamie,
guys enjoy and find it as informative as I do.
Jamie is the voiceover artist herself, so she understands everything that's going on. And we're going to make this a little more different. So when we do choose your question, we'll actually have you come live. So you are in the room with us. So it's a little more participation than an actual Zoom webinar. So yes, the incredible Kristin Paiva. Kristin
I don't know.
has more than 18 years of industry experience, having contributed her skills to the renowned entertainment powerhouse, the Walt Disney Company. How many of you want to work there? Her work was featured in numerous animated television properties that were seen on Disney Channel, Disney XD, Disney Junior, some Marvel, Lucas, Pixar projects, along with Disney Plus and TV animated properties. And we are very fortunate that Kristin has now, Kristin has experienced both live action and animated worlds and over a decade experience in casting. And what I was going to say is we are very fortunate that Kristin has now departed Disney and embarked on a new venture by founding her own company, Paiva Productions. And she channels her experience into the realms of casting, dialect directing, and voiceover coaching. Kristin has a genuine passion and has dedicated Paiva Productions to perpetuating her fervent commitment and steadfast support for emerging talent. Thank you, Kristin. Thank you for being with us.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, what are casting directors looking and listening for in the animation realm?
You know, it's such a great question, and I talk about this a lot, Terry, because I think that everyone thinks that we're looking for something that we're not. And often what I find is that when folks get sides for animation, and this might happen in your space too, Terry, I'm not sure, but I think that everyone starts overthinking it. And most talent that I work with, I find digs so much into character artwork and character description. And they go, what is Kristin thinking? What is the executive producer thinking? What is that dog over there thinking? You know, I don't know. But overthinking it to the extent that it's like everyone stops and forgets that ultimately what we want is you to bring your inspiration and interpretation of the character to life. Those things are written absolutely as a guideline. They're absolutely written because there is someone that has that thought and that wants that particular character. But I'm sure you guys have heard this over and over. We don't really know who the character is going to be until we hear you come through that headphone, and we go, oh my God, that's the character. So what we really want in this space and possibly others is for you to bring yourselves to the roles. Bring more of yourselves to these roles. Stop overthinking the description and the artwork, but dig into the lines themselves, because within those lines and in those scenes, that's where the true acting comes out. And if you are doing it opposite, where you're just looking at character artwork and description and then blowing through the lines, innately what happens is that a lot of reads sound the same, and folks fall into the note trap, as I'll say, and do one thing across the board. Bring those scenes to life and bring your interpretation of them. That's what we're looking for.
So there must be different kinds of animation. For instance, commercials, when I cast animated characters, I'm looking for very real voices and not the put on animated characters. So when you're putting out a breakdown, when you are putting out a breakdown, do you indicate whether you want more of a real voice or a put on animated voice? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, another great question. So right now, the trend in animation is a naturalistic style. It's possibly a trend everywhere, and I'm sure you've all seen this, but there is a major trend that everyone is saying they want a naturalistic read. So I will absolutely put that in my breakdowns if that is what they are looking for. But I think that if it is not listed, because I don't always list that, right? I may not just say like, this is a character reread, right? Largely, I would just say it's naturalistic if that's what they're looking for. So I think what you need to do again is to lean into your instincts. If you see some character artwork and it's a little fuzzy bear with like a spasmastic face, is that going to sound natural? Probably not. Probably not. So if it is not listed, what I would say is lean into your instincts, look at those things, key into all of the different areas of the description and go, okay, this is the character, and they are okay with a more charactery read. And what I would also say about that is mentioning that naturalistic is a trend in animation right now and has been for the last 5-6 years or so. Trends change, but regardless, that is the trend. That does not mean that is a blanket statement that everything is going to be naturalistic across the board. What that means is that you're going to see a lot more of that there will be a lot of shows more naturalistically based, vocally speaking, but also know that there is an absolute opportunity where you could see both naturalistic and character in one world. For instance, I'm so sorry. Oh, here comes the gardener. Can you hear it, Terry? Is it okay? Is it so bad?
I cannot hear it.
That's so great. Okay,
well,
thank you.
My lawnmowers are going too. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got a chorus of lawnmowers. So I cast a show called Hamster and Gretel by the wonderful Dan Povemeyer, creator of Phineas and Ferb. It's currently airing. Go check it out. What a weird plug. But anyway, I don't know why I did that. That was really weird. But anyway, so our leads in that series, louder. Be louder. Oh no, you're giving me a
thumbs up.
Thank you. I was like, be louder. I can be louder, Terry. But basically what we did there is we have our leads and they were very naturalistically based. And in fact, some of those folks are really good at the one thing that they're doing there, that they're providing. And just as a general note, that can happen these days, right? You don't have to be all the things in animation. You can be really good at one thing and book jobs. But so our leads were very naturalistically based vocally. And then some of the supporting characters around are absolutely charactery. So you can go, if you go take a look at the show, you'll see a lot of our villains are like, they're outrageous, over the top, and very, very funny. So there's a world in which naturalistic and character can combine. So just key into your sides, key into your character descriptions to figure out if it doesn't state it specifically in the specs.
So when you how many pages or how many lines usually do you put out for an audition for the role? Because I imagine you have to hear arcs and changes and right?
Absolutely. I'm certain that you know this, Terry, but I will say this sometimes and folks aren't familiar, but the word, okay, we use sides, character sides, and the term sides comes from the idea that these sides are supposed to show all of the different sides of a character: happy, mad, sad, glad. Because when you are stepping into the animation world, you are voicing a character that you are bringing to life. You are going to live the life of this character. It gives me goosebumps every time. I'm such a nerd. This is the dumbest thing, but it's cool. So you are bringing to life a character that has been created. You are going to live their lives in a world that's been developed, a culture that has been crafted. So you will experience and deliver every emotion that this character could ever have within that series. So the sides are supposed to be crafted in that way to show us happy, mad, sad, glad. For me as a casting director, so I go, that's the character. Yes, right there. Jamie's the one, when I get her read and I hear it. And it also is for you as talent so that you can really grab onto something and show us all the different emotions of the character. So I will say that it does shift and change how many specific pages. Typically, I like to have about a page if I can, but I will say you'll probably notice another sort of trend that I'm seeing. I have nothing but just like honesty, like blunt honesty in my, so I'll try not to say certain things, but you may have noticed a trend where you're receiving just like a scene in a script. I don't love that because I don't think it gives us enough of the character to really go, yes, Jamie's the one. Right? Because you're just delivering a scene. But so you'll see that a lot. You'll see just a set of a scene, and it really can vary, Terry. It could be one page and it's very specific. You'll often see that from Disney where it's happy, mad, sad, glad. And then you'll also see some sides, a scene coming out. And it could be 2 pages. I recently did one that was 8 pages long and determined by creators. And I was like, good Lord, that's a lot. So yeah, it can be all over the place.
Yeah. Do you as a casting director try to influence the producers who, like, if they're giving you too much, I would imagine that you say, guys, you have it here in these 3 pages, because the trend now sometimes is talent are given too much to do. I know as a casting director, most of us protect talent that way. Do you come into that in animation?
Oh,
Do you influence? Yeah.
absolutely, Terry. I take that very seriously, and I do my absolute best. Sometimes folks are set on the things that they want, and I think that you've got to choose your battles. But I highly influence the sides whenever I can. As a matter of fact, I worked very closely hand in hand with the creators because sometimes it could be a new creator that's never done this. I've literally had creators be like, "What are sides?"
Oh,
So
yeah.
I will work with them to craft the best possible sides that I can. But we also don't win every battle, and occasionally there are tight turnarounds. And so it's like, it's got to be a scene out of a script, right? We can't do much more. So the answer there is yes, I'm very protective of talent. And also I want to set both of us up for success if I can. It sometimes works, it sometimes doesn't. You kind of have to roll with it and pick your battles, like I said.
So actors, voiceover artists make commercial reels, narration reels, animation reels, and their animation reels, I find, are generally very over the top, strong characters that don't sound natural.
Yeah.
So and then, talent will send me some of those. What do you think? Like, look how good I am at animation, and every character sounds the same. But since the trend is more realistic, are the reels starting to change? Are the animation demo reels starting to change now?
They are, yes. From what I have, it is so funny, Terry, that I didn't really delve into reels as much. I used them. I listened to them. I had them when I was at Disney, but for whatever reason, it was just like out here floating in the nether and something that didn't touch my brain as much. But now that I'm out here in the wilds, I see this.
Welcome.
I've learned so much more about reels. And yes, so it from what I have learned, folks are following trends when they create their reels. I believe this is like a recommendation from the reels or the demo companies. I don't know. Listen, don't anyone go out of here and be like, Kristin said this, so I'm not going to do this. But I don't know that I agree with that because trends change so quickly. And like, why in the world do you need to redo your demo if you've got a great one that showcases your voice and your vocal range? But yes, it does seem as though folks are following trends. And so what I have noticed is that a lot of folks is demos will open up with the naturalistic sound and then show the other characters that they
Oh,
can
that's
do.
nice.
I think that's fine. I think that's
Yeah.
nice. But I will also tell you that I sort of treat demos the same way that I treat auditions, Terry. I want to hear your best and strongest character up at the top. I have a really short attention span. I have ADHD, so I move on very quickly, and I want to hear your best stuff at the top. Um, so that's my opinion. But again, don't take it as gospel. I don't,
Well, aren't
but
you
that's my thoughts.
producing demo reels for
I am.
JMC?
I am. So that is so funny to say that because I actually have a real love-hate relationship with demos, Terry, because I'm so talent friendly. I'm really on the talent side. And we all know there's some really not great companies out there making demos and or allowing folks to make demos when they're not ready. And I hate that. Since I have stepped out into the wilds, I've seen it so much more. And I have gotten so upset for talent that has sent me demos and I'm like, oh my God, like it shouldn't have been made. It shouldn't have been done. And so I contacted JMC and I was like, look, I hate demos. I hate them, but I want to be a part of the good. I want to at least be like, these are good. I know it. I brought in this insanely talented writer that books animation all the day long has probably developed 400 to 500 demos writing, creates every single script. Anyway, I just wanted to be a part of the good, but I still kind of hate them. I probably shouldn't say that. JMC is going to be like, you're fired. Anyway, but yes, I am. I did.
So where do you put your breakdowns out?
So at present, I send all breakdowns, I send all specs out via email to agencies directly.
Oh,
I am
do that
expanding
too.
my list. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Same thing here. What was it, Terry, back in the day? There was that
Voice
website,
bank.
like
Voice
Voice
bank.
Bank. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I just never, at Disney, I was at Disney at the time, we never really found a replacement for that we liked, that worked well. So we moved into email and we just didn't leave it. Since I'm out here, and I have my own production company and my own company, I have moved outside I used to only send out auditions to national reps, I will say, in LA and New York. And I think one day I was just like, you know what? I own my own company. I can do whatever the heck I want. So I've started reaching out to different great regional reps. I've started reaching out to agencies in the UK and beyond, and I'm looking at bringing more agencies in because ultimately I'm a creative casting director and I want the best possible person for the role. And for me, that does not mean that they reside necessarily in LA or New York.
So is it voiceover agents that you send it to or theatrical agents?
Voiceover agents, yes, I do send to voiceover agents. A lot of them have theatrical departments, of course, but I do look specifically for agents that rep talent in the voiceover space.
Excellent. All right. Now, what should talent avoid in auditions?
Yeah. Well, for one, I would say, and this is sort of a broad rule, and I think every casting director would agree with me, follow the specs. I'm not so spec crazy myself that I'm going to be mad if something was labeled. Well, no, label your stuff appropriately, please. But I'm not going to set aside auditions because the period was in the wrong place or whatnot. But I would say pay close attention to your specs. I also spent, significant amount of my time in talent relations, which is in essence in-house talent management for the Walt Disney Company. And you know how many emails I would send to talent and just say they maybe read one line. Make sure you read the whole thing because there could be crucial information in there. So first and foremost, read that. I would also say, please key into those specs. If you see that a project is for Nick Jr. or Disney Jr., that is going to change your read significantly. You're talking to the littles, that's preschool age projects, as opposed to an adult animation or kids and family space, right? So key into your specs. There's a lot there that you need to look at and key into, and it will help inform your read. I would also say, improv, everyone always brings this up. Should we do it? Should we not? I love to hear improv if you have it, but there's really important stuff to ask yourself when it comes to improv. And that question I always say is, ask yourself, don't answer it here. Am I funny? If the answer to that question is yes, so cool, add in improv. But there's some keys to that, right? Making sure that they're just little buttons, little zingers. As I say, get in, get out. They should only ever add to the scene. I've definitely had someone reading something and then blue star, and it's like, what in the world? That didn't make sense. Like some random piece. Okay, maybe not exactly, but some random piece of improv. And then never ever on every single line. There's and then P.S. If your answer was no, I'm not funny, that's cool too. There's really funny stuff in these scripts. So just learn to punch up the jokes that are in there. So, there are key things that folks can do that can set their auditions aside, right? Like follow the specs. If we are looking for a character that is 8 years old, I always say lean into your instincts and who's a character to you. But if the character to you is 50, that's probably going to be an easy pass, right? That doesn't fit the spec at all. So key into some of those specific things and not allow your audition to get set aside for silly things. But those are some of the things that I see. I don't even know if I answered your question, Terry. Did I?
I don't
I
know.
went off on a
No,
tangent.
no, you did. There was a lot of great information there.
I told you.
So
You
you
shut
put
me
the
up.
you put the breakdown out, and they self-tape, right? They
Correct.
self-direct, self-tape, send it into you.
Yes. Send it into the agents, and then I ask the agents to
Yeah.
send their top to me. Sometimes I'll cap that if I know that I'm going to get a billion, send your top 10, 15 or something to that effect. And sometimes I open it up because I want to hear everything.
So then you send it on to your producer and they start making choices. Are there live callbacks or callbacks for animation? Like, how do your callbacks? Tell us about
Yes.
your callback process.
Yeah. So I will go through all of the auditions and I'll send through my top selects for every character to the producers. I will then ask them to listen through and to pull their top selects. Typically at this process, when we're talking about this stage, Terry, I would say this is usually pilot stage. That's when you're going to see most of your Jim Fromp.
I know.
Fromp loves
Jim,
my
I
website.
want, Jim,
I
I
know
want background
Terry
like
needs you.
hers.
Terry needs you. She wants one of these backgrounds,
I
Jim.
do.
So usually we're talking about callbacks in the pilot stage. They can happen once we're fully in series, but more often than not, it's pilot stage. So once the executive producers or showrunners pick their selects, we'll go into callbacks. For me, for Disney TV animation, that is still a hybrid approach. So talent can come into the studio if they want, or we can do that from home. But we typically nowadays, that's actually, you get more time because of the age of the internet and after the pandemic. We used to sometimes we'd have talent stacked and have 5 minutes with each talent when we were in studio. So we would just get through talent like this, 5 minutes, bop, bop, bop. Now it's probably about 10 to 15 because of all the tech issues that we run into. But ultimately, you come in and you get to read the sides again and be redirected. But I would also say something to note that not maybe everyone does about your callbacks is that it is also a bit of an interview. Like, we want to see if you're cool. Kara, hi. Oh my God, sorry, ADHD. I saw Kara. Hi, Kara. Saying hello. Anyway, yep, bring me back. Callbacks. Oh, it's a bit of an interview. We want to see if you're someone that we want to work with, that you're cool. Like, just be cool. You know what I mean? Be cool. It doesn't mean you have to come in with a song and dance, but just be yourself. And be kind and be ready to work and play. So it is both a bit that, as well as to see how directable you are and able to shift within the different notes that we put forward. From there, hopefully we've got our cast, but not always.
How many people do they usually call back in animation?
Yeah, it really varies and depends on how many that they are responding to, but I would say at least 10 per character we're bringing in. Could be more, could be less,
Mm.
depending on what they're responding to.
Anything else you want them to know about callbacks? You know, that people.
Well, I could say I get questions about this. It's like, well, if they're calling me back in but didn't say anything about redirects, what should I expect? I would think that you should expect that we liked your read and come prepared to do that. But as with anything, don't over rehearse, right? You know that. I think everyone knows that, but don't over rehearse it so that you're like so stuck in that one thing that you can't make adjustments because you do really never know. Like, for instance, sometimes when you come back in, we may not say it because we didn't know until a day prior or that day that the creators made an adjustment to the character. And now we're going to ask you to do that. So I would just say be prepared for anything, but be prepared at the top to do what you originally did. And also, PS, like I always try to make sure that my executive producers are fully prepped and ready to go, as in I'm a voice director. I think Terry, you said dialect director, and I just want to make sure everyone
Oh,
knows
I'm
I can
sorry.
barely, no, it's okay, but I can barely speak English. So I just want to clarify a voice director, not a dialect director. That's Tom Antonellis.
Who's on
Anyway,
here, by the way? Hi, Tom.
Um, so so I also try to prepare my executive producers, the voice director that's in the room, by having all of your auditions ready. And we should be listening to this right before you get in the room. I've definitely heard talent be like, people are like, yeah, we don't know, whatever you did was fine. No, we we should be listening to those before you get in the room. That's our job.
So, I mean, it really sounds like loud and clear that animation, people who are successful in animation have to be good actors.
I would say so. I make a terrible joke that I refuse to make on here, and I shouldn't have even said that. But I came from the live action side. It's funny, but it's not that funny maybe for some people. But the other side of this joke is that I strongly believe that voice actors are some of the best actors in the business, and I will stand by that till the day that I die. Because you could go on live action and have this really great, cute thing that you do, or a great laugh, or whatever. I don't know. That plays super well on TV. But you know how you test and act, you really find out who can act? Put them in the booth. And certainly we've all had celebrity casting forced upon us at times. So you put some of those folks in the booth, and let me tell you what, it does not translate. Not at all. So I would just say that, yeah, voice actors, y'all are the best actors in the business because you don't have a crutch. You have to deliver everything. I can't see your tears. I can't see your beautiful smile. I have to hear it come through your voice. And if you don't authentically connect those emotions to the scene, it doesn't work. So yeah, again, I'm a nerd, goosebumps. You're the best actors in the business.
I love how you say goosebumps because that's what, when I'm teaching, I go, oh my God, that was a
Yeah,
goosebump read. I can't
yeah,
believe you're saying goosebumps.
yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing. Um, so you mentioned how, oh, I know what I wanted to ask before I go on to this. So because people come back live, uh do you consider out of town people for
Yes, absolutely.
animation?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how do you deal with them?
Well, and as a matter of fact, it's not even that I consider, it's that I want everyone. I don't want just people in LA that can walk into a booth in front of me. I don't understand that. I never did, even prior to the pandemic. So I want everyone to read. And I really genuinely, personally, don't care where you live. I don't care if it's the middle of nowhere, I don't know, Kansas. I'm sorry if anyone's from Kansas. I don't know why I picked that, but I don't care if it's the middle of nowhere, Kansas, or somewhere in the UK or Ireland or in some other place. I genuinely want the best person for the role. Now, as you know, Terry, I mean, I am a facilitator of someone else's vision, right? No, I'm not. I'm the casting director, so I am trying to fulfill the executive producer's vision for this show. So is that always an option that I have? Nope. There's absolutely some networks that I work for, big ones, that will only cast in LA. And there's nothing that I can do to move a massive network to go back to an open casting process. But wherever I can, I fight for it. And there's still many places, many large, massive companies, networks in Los Angeles that are hybrid. So as a matter of fact, there's only one that I know that is strictly LA. So just know that, and know that it's still very open. And yeah, don't allow that to be a barrier. I think you've got to come in, you've got to be exceptionally strong, but that's the same in any one of these genres. It's not, you can't go into commercial and just fake it. You've got to be great at it. So be great, and be great at the things that you're the best at.
Absolutely. So when someone actually books the job, do they have to like match like the flaps in the mouth, and what happens when they book and
Yeah.
they're
That's
on the
such a
job? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's two ways, maybe there's more, but there's two main ways to create an animated series. And one is called storyboard driven, and one is called a script driven. Storyboard driven is where our artists come in and they will kind of sketch out each episode and scene in advance. And when you come in as talent, you're kind of matching, almost similar to ADR. Not really, Terry, that they have to fully match the lip flap. There's not really lip flap there, but they do have to match something pre-existing content. So in my opinion, if I was a creative, which I believe you all are, that wouldn't be as fun to do. And I will say in my career, I think I've worked on one of those. The more typical way that we create a show is called script driven. And what that means is that they write the script first. You all get to come in and record as the talent, so there's nothing pre-existing. And what is so cool about that for me, for you, for me, is that what you deliver in the booth is literally what gets animated to later.
Oh, I love
And I
that.
think we know that, but you don't not always do I realize that folks are like really thinking about that. Like what you deliver in the booth shows up on the screen. Like you are informing that entirely. And I love that. So
Oh,
script driven is the typical way that it works.
that's really interesting. So you mentioned that how do buyers become the sellers? Can you let us know what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It sounds
So,
very empowering, whatever it is.
I don't know. What's so funny is that, Terry, I didn't realize probably until I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, like maybe 6 years into my career in animation, that we were casting directors were referred to as buyers, which I to this day feel so weird about. But so I guess we're buyers. But what's maybe interesting to learn is that once we've talked about audition process, getting all those auditions in, we review every single one of those, and then we send them on to the executive producers. And that is the point when these buyers become the sellers. So what that means for me is that I go to my executive producers and I say, here's my top choices for each character and why. Now, if you are findable and I went out and I looked at you and I was like, oh my gosh, Terry's doing all these cool things above and beyond, I would tell my executive producers for that. I want to essentially, in essence, sell you to them to go take a close listen to this. And here's why. Here's why you should pay close attention to Terry. And I try to do that with everyone that I'm pitching out. It's really wonderful if I've met you in some capacity or worked with you or seen you on stage or watched your show or watched your YouTube series or whatever the case, because then I can speak to that and also pitch that out and go, this is why they're so great. So we don't just go, here's a list, take a listen. It really should be our job to inform our executive producers as much as we can about the talent that we're putting forward so that they can make an informed choice about who they're selecting as well.
And what do you think of social media and what talent puts on social media? Is that having any influence?
Well, it certainly has influence for some, Terry. It doesn't, for me particularly, as a creative casting director, like so great if you have 1 billion followers. And I am going to say, congratulations, that's amazing, and honestly mean it. But it doesn't mean that you're the best person for the role that I'm looking for. Now, what I would say is that, unfortunately, that means something to someone, right? Usually a network. because they always want someone to pin a series on, right? Or go, that make their series noteworthy in their words, right? They want to find someone to kind of pin it on and make it press worthy is the word. So that can be important to a network, but it isn't to actual casting directors for the most part, because again, it doesn't prove talent. And it doesn't prove the right to be in this particular space. And I do not believe that I could be wrong, but I do not believe that there has ever been a direct correlation to someone's followers and viewership. We tested this theory. We tested it on the live action side, and we've tested it on the animated side.
Great.
And I do not believe there has ever been a correlation to viewership and followers.
Great. Well, I'd love to open it up to some questions so people are really involved with this. Jamie, do you have any questions lined up?
Oh, I sure do.
Oh,
I've been
good.
keeping track as they've been coming in the chat. We've got some really great ones.
You want to
so
call
I'm-
out the person's name and they can can show their video.
Yeah, of course. So I'm just going to go in order of the questions that came through that I like. So the first one is from Allie McCauley. If you can unmute yourself and bring your camera on, so you can ask your question.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, Kristin. Thanks so much for putting this together. This has been so fun. I'm learning so much. I'm trying to write everything down. It's a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I'm glad you're giving me so much to write. So thank you. So my question, I know you answered it a little bit, but what is a typical casting process? How many voice actors do you listen to, and how many are usually pushed forward when there's not a callback?
Yeah.
So
really great question. On the super low end, if the role is very specific, maybe 2, 3, up to 400 or so auditions. More often and more typically, however, I'm seeing a little over 1,000 per character, 1,050, 1,100, 1,200, and I'll listen to every single one of those for every single character.
well, thank you.
And then pushing forward, I would say, max 25. To be honest with you, you don't want to put too much into the ears of the executive producers, not in a way that's disrespectful, but you just don't want to put too much forward, because it can get confusing and be like, oh man, now I've heard so many, I don't know. So max 25, but more often than not, I would say it's somewhere between 10 to 20 that we're putting forward.
Wow. Well, thanks for listening to all of them. I know they all appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Hey,
listen, I figure it's your job to put your auditions out there, and it's mine to listen to them.
Thank you so much, and thanks for answering my question.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Perfect.
Bye,
Thanks,
Allie.
Allie. So that actually segues really nicely into our next question from Anush Nivart. If Anush wants to come on and ask about the auditions.
Hi, Anush.
Oh, wait, we can't hear you. Why? Oh, you're muted still.
Unmute, yeah.
Unmuted. Hi, Kristin. How are you?
I'm good. Ooh, I love your hair. That's on point. I feel like I'm a mess after
Thank you.
seeing
Oh, this is new. I'm just trying this
Beautiful.
out. Normally, I look like a lady with her hair back, but I'm like, oh my gosh. And are you with SBV?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm with no one.
Oh, with no one.
I am I'm a casting director and no
Right.
SBV is a talent agency.
Yes, I know. I'm with them. I was just like, oh my gosh, are you one of her people? Because I was like, oh my gosh, you look like someone who I know from their people. Anyway.
Oh, well, I work with them for many years, and I've done workshops with SBV, so maybe.
Do you not love them? They're amazing.
They're fabulous.
And they're women driven. Thank you so much.
In fact, I just got a text from Farron City SBV.
Farron's is one of my faves.
Yeah.
I love him. I love him.
Anyway,
Farron.
can you get to your question?
Yes.
Thank
What
you.
is my question? Julie, because I asked like 3 questions.
Yeah, so the question I'm referring to was the one about, do you listen to 3 seconds or do you listen to the whole audition from every
Yes,
single person?
right. So that's because I know in live action it's different. So how do you approach that?
Yes. So I would listen to the first, how that translate is this. I do listen to the first few seconds of an audition, and that will inform me as to whether or not I am going to continue forward listening or if I am going to pass. Now, sometimes that freaks talent out and they're like, what? You're only listening to the first few seconds? Well, as casting directors, we've developed an ear for one. So we do know if what we're hearing is going to be in vein with the character, but don't let that freak you out, because largely what that is this the right age range for the character? Is this in the right vein for the show? Is this feeling like it is going to be accurate for this character? Is the acting good, right? And I will say that it becomes very apparent within the first few seconds. So those types of things will be a quick move on for us. If there's anything in there that is sounding right or accurate or good for the role, I'm listening forward.
And do you actually keep like a track of or a list of people who you feel like are really good, but they're not quite right for this role?
Yeah.
Yeah. So repeat auditions from the same casting director are basically you saying, we like this person, we want to try to find something for them, maybe?
I mean, I suppose if I am specifically requesting someone to read, yeah, that would mean that I've heard you or I've known you to do something and I want to hear your take on this. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll listen for things that are really strong, but maybe not right for the character. And while it's not like, Anush, I'll stick that somewhere and it's like here, it's just something that I keep in my brain. I think that's why I don't have room for anything else in my brain, is that I've just got you all living in here and like waiting for roles to come up that are right.
I hear you. Thank you.
Anush, I'll
Yes.
add that really gets into the subject of we're all in relationship together. And it
Yes.
takes a while to create relationships. So if you're auditioning, I mean, it happens with me too, with any casting director. Yeah, I could have 70 really, really, really great reads, but my client won't tolerate me passing 70 on to them. So in my mind, though, Anush, that was a really good audition. So I'll remember you the next time, or your name comes up, like, ooh, the little radar comes up. So it's establishing relationships that take time. And so I would also look at an audition knowing that, oh, I know I gave it a great audition. I gave a great audition, and, it's banking the relationship. I mean, even on this list of people who have joined us today, I feel I have relationships with them because they've been auditioning for me for years. They've come through. They're really, really great. Have they booked with me 40 times? No. But so I think it gets into relationships.
Thank you. That's so powerful. Thank you, Kristin. You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question, which is from Ash Hagland. If you want to come on, it's addressing your question about what it takes to consider non-union actors as well as union, especially if the project's union.
Oh, we didn't hit on that. That's a great question.
It is a great
Yeah.
question.
So I'm so curious because, obviously, well, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the first offering / preference is going to go to a union actor because that's just how it works. But let's say there's this non-union actor who has this really great performance, or who you maybe haven't worked with, and so you're not necessarily familiar, but you're just really believing in this audition and you really want to give this person a shot. How much influence do you have as a casting director to really push them through to the client and say, this person is new, I've heard their auditions, they're great, they're not union, but I really think we should give them a shot?
Yeah, really great question, Ash, but I do want to just make a slight correction to something.
Yes, please.
I don't even look at whether or not you're union. I don't really have any way of knowing that when I'm looking at your auditions. So I'm going to be honest with you. I do not care.
Interesting.
I have worked for large networks like Disney that only cast union, but that is not a barrier in my opinion. It never has been. If you are the best person for the job, I will offer you the role. I don't even check to see if you're union, to be honest with you. There's a thing called, I'm sure you've heard of it, Taft-Hartley. I'm not going to tell you that that's happened a billion times. Certainly not. but it can happen, and it will if you're the right person for the job. So know that I don't care. And a lot of casting directors don't. So it doesn't matter if you're union or not. What I suppose would matter more is, do you have an agent that's getting you the auditions and the opportunities? Because again,
Right.
I literally don't go into anyone. I've never in my life gone into someone's audition and been like, union or non-union? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that part doesn't matter.
Okay, that's great to know. And the reason why that question came up for me is because with auditions, there have been a handful lately that have required that when I send them in, I label union or non-union.
Yeah, and so there's always going to be exceptions to that, right? Personally, for me, I do not care. Disney
Right.
TV Animation would not care. Larger networks do not care necessarily. So, but there will be, I suppose, projects that do, and some cases, interestingly, and I've only since learned this since being out in the wilds, as I call it, Ash, is that there are some projects that can only take non-union actors, and thus might be also why they're asking that question.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
You mentioned something interesting, Ash. You said new people. Sometimes many times people are not new and they're non-union because they live in a right to work state, or it takes a long time to become union. But what we do have to be careful of, if you're new, will you be able to handle yourself under the pressures of the recording when you're
Yeah.
recording? Because we're supposed to be protecting the production, and sending them people who are vetted, which is,
Absolutely.
Kristin, I thought you said something interesting when you mentioned, yeah, they're non-union, but they're with an agent. So the agent believes in you. So that's a vetting too.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And I would just like to add that I'm also like super, what's interesting about me is that well, maybe not interesting. I don't know. Sometimes I just start with weird words. I actually am not afraid to take a chance or take a risk. I'm not afraid to fail. As a matter of fact, I feel that makes me a better person, human, and casting director or whatnot. So I am not afraid to take a chance on someone. But I do my research and I will make sure. Yeah, okay, great. I'll if I really want to push someone forwards for something that does not look like they have a ton of experience. Well, what have they done? Can I find you somewhere? Are you in shows? Can I go watch you? Can I go do these things? And I'll go do those things to just make sure. But like I said, I'm also, have I cast and pushed people forward for things that have gotten recast because it was the wrong choice? Yep. Am I sad about that? I'm sad for them. I'm not sad for taking the chance, though. Sometimes we make decisions and we do things and it doesn't work out. But anyway, just wanted to state that I'm also not entirely afraid of taking a chance on someone, because it's sort of like that catch-22. If you don't get the opportunity, when and how will you? Someone took a chance on me. I don't know how it turned out, but someone at one point took a chance on me, and I like to do the same for others.
I kind of want to take back what I said, or
No.
add to what I said, because I just realized they will have come in for the callback.
Right. True. Yeah.
So they're being worked out in the callback. And at that point, the creatives can smell, if they're too green and can't handle it. So
Yeah, sure.
yeah. So there
I
is
would
the
just say like
callback
the biggest
process.
point is to be directable, right? To make sure that you're able to
Yeah.
take adjustments and make changes. So I would say too, that goes back to like your foundation, which I was raised by teachers, all my whole damn family. Oops, sorry. I've done so good, Terry, and not cursed once, but I just did. But my whole family are all teachers. So I have such a respect for it. But I would say the same here in anything, in any genre of voiceover. Make sure that you've trained and you've coached in these areas so that when you do go in, yeah, I can do this. I can deliver.
Great. Jamie, you have another question?
Amazing. Yes. So, there are still a few other ones that I really want to get to. So if it's okay with you guys, I just want to address this one because it kind of ties into what you were just talking about, Kristin.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah, of course.
James Hare asked, so then do you also consider talent who are not with an agency? Because I know you do send out breakdowns with your relationships with voiceover agencies, but if you discover someone somewhere, you see them, do you reach out to personal people and invite them to audition as well?
That's a really great
Wanna
question,
put
and I do
James
that.
up there? Are you
Oh,
gonna put James up there? So,
Yeah, James, you can put your camera on if you want,
Okay.
so you can see this. There you go.
hi, James.
Yeah, what a great question.
Hello.
I also consider myself a talent scout, James, so I'm constantly out there looking for you all, but I'm not an agent, right? So the answer to that question is that heck yeah, I found talent, but I do not have a talent roster that are receiving auditions. I'll never do that. And the reason for the fact that I won't do that is A of all, it is not sustainable. I already get so many auditions in, that it would be impossible to send these out targeted to talent. But further, I do believe in the fact that there needs to be some sort of representation. And I also have a strong support of and respect for agencies. They're going out and getting you the opportunities. So what I would say to that is if I have found someone, and I absolutely have throughout my career many, many times, and if I found someone that should be repped, I typically will try to get them placed somewhere.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'm going to work twice as hard now to try and find someone to give me some representation then as well.
I think you definitely should, because again, I know so many of you are out here hustling and finding your own gigs, and I get that and I know that, but that's the literal job of an agent. So like work less, work not as hard, get an agent to do that for you.
I'll try my best. Thank you.
Good luck.
Also, James, other talent who have agents, they will listen to their talent recommendations.
Right.
It's one of the main ways that agents pick up new talent.
Okay, so more like referrals from other people who are already on the
Yeah,
books.
from your
Yeah.
fellow
Okay.
voiceover
Sure.
actors.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to write that down. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, James. Appreciate it. So, moving right along, here's a quick one for you from Dane Peterson. If you want to come up, he wants to know, how often are you casting animation roles that involve singing?
Well, because I've worked primarily, not anymore, which I'm so excited about, but primarily in kids, family, and preschool, fairly often, but certainly not always, right? So it definitely happens. For instance, there's a role I'm working on currently that has some singing, a singing aspect to it. But I mean, if I was to like guess a ratio, I'm so bad at numbers, but honestly, it would be pretty small. I would say maybe like 25% of the roles I cast. And that actually might be way bigger. Again, I'm really bad at numbers. I can barely like count. But not many, but there definitely are those that come through. Why, are you a singer?
I am, yes.
Okay, yeah. So what I would say, Dane, is make sure, A of all, that that's available, that we would know that about you. If you're repped, make sure your agent knows, and make sure that, again, I always say be findable. So if I go and at the barest minimum have a website, so if I go there, or any other casting director goes there, we know right off the bat, treat that like an audition. Your first page, I can get to know Dane in a heartbeat, and I see that you're a singer.
Okay. Quick related to that, if you have included it on your demo, is this something that one would want to hear close to the top of the demo, or does it matter?
I would say that if it is included on a demo, I would actually say it should be at the back end of it,
Okay.
because I would say that, I would be looking for the different characters that you're able to do.
Okay.
And then the singing is a bonus.
I'm safe.
Excellent. Yes. That's my opinion, though. P.S. Someone else could have an entirely different one.
Sure, of course. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. My pleasure.
Great. Thanks so much, Dane. Appreciate it. So, next question we have is from Janai Roberts. If Janai's here and wants to come up, it's about when and what factors you consider talent ready to make a demo, since you mentioned that that's something that's obviously very important to all of us here.
Well, I think, Ava, you need to ask yourself that question. How much coaching and training have you done? What have you put in the work to get there? Has a mentor, maybe not even a coach, but a mentor, been like, yes, you're ready to do this? I would say there are some things, and I would say get a second opinion. I would also say, when you are considering the demo, now certainly there's been times that people have done the research about the demo producer and we did not know that things were not good, right? And everything appeared to be okay, but do as much research as you can about the demo producer. There should be some sort of vetting process. Like for instance, what I've started doing at JMC demos is that I send you sides that you need to read and send back to me as a mock audition. I then meet with you and do redirects live to see if you can make the adjustments and changes. And only at that point will you either be greenlit to move forward or not. So I would just say make sure that whoever you're working with is also ensuring that you are ready to do it, because the worst case scenario, and why I hate demos, someone asked, is that they cost so much money for you guys. And the worst case scenario is that you have one made and it's not done well, or you weren't ready and you have to redo it. Worst case scenario. So I would just say, with anything in life, it is my strong opinion that you need to have a strong foundation of coaching and training to make sure that you are ready for that space. I started this whole ridiculous thing about animation being just a muscle in the body, just like any other genre in this thing. And you've got to work that muscle out and make sure that it's not all flabby and saggy, right? Like we've got to work it out and make it strong, just like you did in any other genre of this or under any other area of voiceover. So if that muscle is strong and ready to go, then start taking a look at demos, but please don't do so until you're absolutely ready. And I've had people come to me just in consults and been like, I'm ready. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I can't tell you that you are. And sure enough, I've seen some folks later that maybe that person, and I was like, you are not ready. And I have nothing but honesty in my body. So like, I was just like, nope, not ready.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's can only be the right thing, because blowing smoke up someone's thing is not the look. It doesn't help anyone.
Yeah, stay away from workshops that include demos. It takes much more than working in a workshop. Kristin does teach. Where can they reach you if they're interested in seeing what classes you have coming up?
Yeah, so you can head to paiva.productions, which is where kind of everything lives and whatnot. I left Disney in part to pursue, other areas of voiceover. So working in adult interactive now, all over the place. And I'm so excited about that, but also to pursue my passion in coaching and helping other people. But you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Come check me out. I may not be the right vibe for you, and you have to find the right person for you. I'm always so happy to recommend other coaches as well. And I strongly believe in the idea that you should have a chorus of voices in your head, so a chorus of coaches, but you should also primarily, at the end of it all, have your voice in your head. Like I've seen people coach with people, and I've had people come coach with me, and they've told me, oh, I'm coaching with this person and this person and this person, and now I want to coach with you. And I've been like, well, after assessing, you don't need to coach anymore. Stop coaching with me and stop coaching with anyone else, and just go live your life and be free. So just be careful of that as well, because there are some folks that will snag you into coaching and just tell you that it is something you have to do for the rest of forever. That shouldn't be the case. Because if it is, that means that this probably isn't the right area for you, right? So I'm sorry, I just had to quantify it. My husband tells me I'm the worst business person in life, but I think it's important. I coach because I love it and because I want to add value. And if I can't give you that value, then I don't want you to coach with me. Or if we're not the right vibe, I want to find someone for you that is. So, but you can find me at Paiva.productions.
Jamie, can you write that in the chat?
Already put it in the chat.
Oh, good.
You guys are
And
so insane.
I will put a plug that I have under VoicePrint West a core Kickstart coming up. It's a core Kickstart intensive for those of you who are on here just experimenting with voiceover, because this will give you all the basic fundamentals. And so you need to start out with very strong basic fundamentals on how to approach copy and start getting to know your voice. And you can find that under terryberlandworkshops.com. That's coming up May 22nd. No, is that May 22nd, Jamie? When is that?
Yes,
popped it in the
3
chat.
weeks, May 22nd.
Three
I just popped it in the
sessions.
chat for
It's
everyone.
very short, extremely comprehensive, and extremely affordable to get you started. You can put that in there too.
That's awesome.
You know, someone right in front of me, I do see a question about home studio to Kristin. Can we address that, Jamie, or will that throw you off?
No, that's okay. That was on my list anyway.
Okay, then
and
go
also
on.
thank
Go on with your list. Go on with.
Yeah, don't worry. I've got eagle eye in the chat for all the
Okay.
questions. And
I'm never
thank you
worried
for
about
everyone who's
you.
taken Terry's workshops that's co-signing how great her workshops are in the chat. Thanks for that,
Yeah.
guys. So, next question. I mean, honestly, I will say this because you've already really covered it well, ladies, but if there's anything you want to expand on, we had multiple people who are new to voiceover that are asking how you would recommend they can break into the industry. And obviously, you talked about workshops and coaching and learning acting ability from the get-go. But since multiple people asked, is there anything you want to elaborate on with that advice for newbies?
Well, I would say it starts with that, what we've talked about, both Terry and I. I mean, it sounds like go take Terry's class to start, to see if you have the fundamentals, because that is incredibly important. It's so funny. I've had so many people throughout my life be like, Kristin, do you do voiceover? You're so animated. No, that's just my personality. But you know what I always say? Absolutely not. I am not an actor. And I have the utmost respect for actors because there is training involved with that. There's time, there is effort, and I don't have that. I'm just a spaz, But if you too are a spaz, there is a chance that I could have turned that into something, right? But I really love where I'm at over here and just saying, like, look at all these talented people. So my suggestion again would go back to your foundation, your coaching, your training, and making sure that you have a really solid foundation. I'm going to be honest, I hate recommending things that cost money. I know that we're all trying to make money. I get it. I promise you I do. But I can't tell you how important it is. And again, I don't care. Don't come to me. That's gross. I'm not a salesman. But get the coaching that you need to make sure that you are ready, and that when you do get into this, you don't start losing money because you weren't right for this particular space. So I don't know, Terry, if you have
Yeah,
anything
I'm
to add.
finding that a lot of brand new people, the first thing they want to do is they say, I want to do animation. I'm not interested in the commercial or how to approach that. But as Kristin, yeah, everyone wants to do animation because it's so much fun. Where commercials, like it's nuances and it's, well, smaller nuances. But yeah, to be a voiceover artist, most of the time you can do multiple things. So definitely start out with a strong foundation, because you won't get any place until you know how to approach copy, break it down, and work in nuances, and then start your animation where you get bigger and bolder and broader acting and characters. And then you can do narration, you can do, oh my God, there are lists of things you can do as a voiceover artist.
It's
And
always
it's
made me laugh,
interesting.
Terry. Oh, I'm so
Right.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say it's always made me laugh too, because I know, like, creatively speaking, maybe that's why folks really want to get into animation. But I've always been like, man, but commercials make so much more. but it is
Funny.
fun. It's very creative and fun.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, having the foundation is right. Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you.
I had quite a number of people. Kristin and I were both at a voiceover convention called VO Atlanta. And I had actors, voiceover artists come up to me and said, I bought a house on that commercial that I did for you. Unexpectedly, it ran this, this, and this. I made more money on a radio commercial that I almost didn't go in and audition for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's huge, Terry. Holy
I
cow.
know.
That's amazing.
So be open. Those of you who are new here, be open, you know, and know that there are a lot of venues in voiceover.
Yes.
So we have a lot of people on here who are doing a lot of work. And do we have any more questions that could satisfy their needs, keep them interested
Yes.
in this?
Yes, so I have, I know we're getting close to our time here, so I have two more
Yeah.
questions that I'd like to bring up that I think will wrap it up nicely
Okay,
here.
fantastic.
So the first one from Adam Harrington, that was the one you were referring to, who asked the sound quality question. So Adam, we've got you up here. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for all of this. This is great. Yeah, I was just I'm wondering just in terms of home video, home studio equipment, if you notice, if you have any thoughts, opinions, or recommendations, and if you notice difference in sound quality in submissions.
Yes. Well, I would say, you know, I am not of the mindset that you have to go out and have this like $5 billion, I don't know, that's an exaggeration, but like home studio system. But I also know that, you know, during the pandemic, there was many places that required talent to have that. So I would say, Adam, that the expectation I think has grown to meet that there is a lot of places that expect actors' home studios to be super on point. I don't necessarily have that expectation. What I would say is that you want to make sure that your system is as good as is good enough that your auditions are coming through super solid, that there's nothing coming through that's distracting and would pull us away from listening to your voice. And I would say also that your space is more important, as I spit everywhere. Your space is more important most often than your actual equipment. Now, you've got to have good, decent equipment, but the space that you're in can matter more. If you're in a big roomy room with lots of walls like I am right now and no doors, I'm sure you hear my audio is shit. Oh, shoot. Sorry, Terry. I'm so sorry. So, you know, that would not be a good audition. But, you know, there are very affordable things that you can do to make sure that your space is good. For instance, go in your closet with super soft surfaces around you. Make sure that those things will absorb any echo or roominess that's coming in. So I don't personally have a particular thing that I'm going for, but I would say there is an expectation to have at least a system decent enough that your auditions are going to come through really solid. And then my expectation personally, which could be very different from others in other places, Adam, is that if you do not have a system that would work at home and you don't live in, let's say, LA, then my expectation would simply be then be willing to go into a studio nearby, because we would need to have audio that would work, or you couldn't hire you for the gig. Terry?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with everything. You know, part of it is the sound and that things aren't bouncing and echoing, because if you're not going into a studio, if that's your sound system, it won't work. And there are microphones. There's a microphone out there that it barely costs $100, and it's really a fantastic mic. I don't have it right on my fingertips, the name, but you can email info@berlandcasting.com and I can give you the name of that mic that's being highly recommended by working voiceover artists. And I can give it to you.
There are really affordable mics. I would say, like, I'm gonna do my friend and head engineer at Disney a boon right now, because you know, he's very much about sound. And I would say, like, if you wanted to go out and get yourself a really decent mic, a really good mic, the one that he would recommend all day long is the Neumann U87 for animation. That is his preferred. I believe that's probably $1 billion. I don't know. But that would be the preferred from animation from one of the top engineers in the business.
I think it's about 1,000.
Oh, God.
I have the other Neumann, the non-that, but I have a Neumann, but yeah, like a TLM. But
Got
yeah,
it,
the UA87 is really good.
A lot of folks that I work with have the Sennheiser 416, and that is, from what I understand, the recommended for commercial copy.
Right.
Probably others, but yeah, Neumann is recommended, U87 for animation. Not my recommendation, but again.
Right.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Great question. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Adam. So to round it out, I think something John Thomas asked this question, if John wants to come up. It was regarding, obviously we know there's ebbs and flows in the industry where sometimes auditions are more plentiful and other times there's a bit slower times. So it's about how you recommend navigating and staying positive in those slow times. John?
Yeah, Kristen, you had a really great post on LinkedIn the other day about the slowdown that we're all experiencing and like how we might all navigate it together. So hoping you might share that here too.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know that it's not you, right? Like I wanted folks to know that the slowdown, because you don't know, and how would you? That the slowdown is not something personal and is not a reflection of your talent at all. There is a major slowdown everywhere. Now, I don't know as much on the commercial side. Terry would have to speak to that, but I do know on the animation side, there's a massive slowdown because these strikes or threat of strikes scares networks, and they want to prepare for that. So, and I did suggest a few things to do, like, for instance, work on coaching or dusting off, that old website and updating that or whatnot. But also note that I know that none of those things bring you money and some of those things cost you money. So what else do you love? Do you love to do stand-up? Do you love to do improv? Are you into theater? Are there ways that you can get yourself out there during this time that both feed your creative soul or something else? And also feed your bank account, do those things because, but I would say, please don't stop moving forward because you think that it's you. It's not. It really is not. And I'm telling you, it doesn't just affect you. If there's a slowdown in this business, it also affects it affects all of us, casting directors, voice directors, everyone. If there's not as much work, there's not as much work. So I think that I had just spoke about it because I hear so many folks and they come talk to me and they're like, gosh, I'm just feeling so low. I'm questioning my place in this business. Please don't do that. It is not you. It is a slow time. And guess what? That happens. It will get better. We're probably in for a rough ride for the rest of the year. We have a video game situation. We have IATSE, a possible writer's strike coming up. Networks prepare for this. They're preparing right now. So what that means is we're in for another bumpy year and a half. I mean, half of a year, maybe more. So buckle down, do the things that love you and bring you joy. And hopefully those things will also bring money into your pockets.
Well, thank you so much, Kristen. And thank you, Terry. Thank you all for doing this. This has been awesome.
I want to add that it's not going to make you money, but I really consider a working actor when you're working at your craft. And, if you have a workout group, maybe instead of once a week when it's slow, twice a week, but so you are still, I know it's not bringing you money and I know you need positive reaffirms, but you still are a working actor just by working at your craft and staying in the game.
I agree with you, Terry. And that's kind of why one of the things I had suggested was to do coaching during this time. Obviously, that costs money. I get that. It's a good time for that because you can feed your creativity and you could work on your craft during that time. It's not because you're not making the money on the other side, but that I definitely believe in that and think that that's something you should do. I work with the wonderful and insanely talented Bill Farmer, honor of my life, the voice of Goofy and Pluto. He raised me, and Bill Farmer to this day will take workshops and do different trainings and coaching, and let that be a lesson to us all. Honestly, Goofy is training still, so I think it's really important, and it keeps you on top of your craft and the trends. So
I think
feed your soul in whatever way you can.
I love that. Can I add something really quick as well that I love? I saw someone mention this in the chat that they're a part of an animation voiceover workout group. And I think that that's something great that people can do as well. So you can learn from other people and give each other feedback. And if at the moment, budget-wise, you can't afford a workout group where there's a payment to be a part of it, get together with some of your other voiceover friends and form your own workout group and work on things.
Right,
and
absolutely.
I know, again, it doesn't make you money, but something that's been fun for me is I've connected with a lot of animators on TikTok or things like that, and collabed with them, and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a voice actor for something, and I'm like, great, I'm looking for an animator for something, and then you get to make that and have the fun experience of doing it and make great new connections with talented people. So don't sleep on that either.
Absolutely. That's great.
Perfect. I think this is a perfect place to end this inside room. And those of you who have joined us, thank you. You are on in our database for our mailing list, and you will see on Instagram and also receive emails for other inside rooms. I love collaborating with other casting people in the industry, working actors in the industry, and to bring up-to-date information to you all and keep you feeling connected with us and us with you too. We all want to be connected.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Terry. And thank you, Jamie, for
Welcome.
everything. This has been awesome.